Welcome back. We'll be reviewing the front pages of our national dailies, and we'll start with our sister publication, Daily Trust, and the bolder headline states, unions reject sale of oil and gas assets, and that's on pages 3 and 4 of the Daily Trust. And just above the bolder headlines, we have bandits kill pregnant woman, others in Kwara. That's on page 5 of the Daily Trust. And cut interest rate further, economist tells central bank. That's on page 23 of the Daily Trust. And we have tinubu raises 20 billion naira for library project. That's on page 12 of the Daily Trust. And just below the bolder headline, soldiers back life jail for selling arms to terrorists. That's on page 10 of the Daily Trust. And we have policeman, 5 others killed in Lagos, Yobe Road crashes. That's on page 12 of the Daily Trust newspaper. And then we have Saudi Grand Mufti dies at 82. That's on page 6 of the Daily Trust. And Natasha resumes at Senate after 6-month suspension. That's on page 13 of the Daily Trust. Do well to grab yourself a copy to stay informed. And then we'll move straight ahead to Daily Sun. The bolder headline states, Senate, Natasha resumes vows not to apologize. Cut to hear her plenary objection in defamation suit. The National Assembly reschedules plenary resumption to October 7th. That's on page 6 of the Daily Sun. And just above the bolder headlines, CBN cuts interest rates to 27%. Eyes $1 billion monthly inflows. That's on page 2 of the Daily Trust. Pengasin rejects federal government's planned sale of JV oil assets. PIA amendments. That's on page 21 of the Daily Sun. And just below the bolder headlines, federal government wants Nigerians as Ebola resurfaces. That's on page 27 of the Daily Trust. And 3 soldiers back life sentences for selling arms to terrorists. That's on page 4 of the Daily Trust and Daily Sun. And then also we have why borrowing continues despite Nigerians 411% revenue growth, says the federal government. That's on page 28 of the Daily Sun. And lastly, Nigerian leads in road crashes related deaths in Africa, says World Health Organization. That's on page 4 of the Daily Sun. And then we'll move to The Guardian. The bolder headline states, wider cracks in world order amid warnings on aid cuts union's future. That's on page 6 of The Guardian. And just above the bolder headlines, Tinubu's handling of INEC transition will define Nigerians' democracy, says Yaga. That's on page 3 of The Guardian. And we have FIRS clarifies borrowing plan, confirms new tax regime from January. That's on page 3 of The Guardian. And just by the side, we have high blood pressure puts 1.4 billion people at risk, says World Health Organization. That's on page 4 of The Guardian newspaper. And then we have concerns in Lagos APC as 4 elected female officials die in 2 months. That's on page 5 of The Guardian newspaper. And relief for businesses as CBN eases 4-year tightening cut interest rate to 27%. That's on page 6 of The Guardian. We have Benue IDP's vows to occupy FCT until normalcy returns. That's on page 29 of The Guardian. And then we'll move to the Daily Monitor and the bolder headlines. 5 years after, CBN cuts interest rates to 27%. Lowers cash reserve ratio to 45% for DMBs. 14 banks have fully met new capital requirements, says Cardoso. NECA, CAPE commend Apex Bank's easing of credit conditions. And then just above the bolder headlines, insecurity OB decries killing of security operatives. And then also we have Pengasin rejects federal government's planned sale of JV oil assets. All right, then before our reviewer joins us, let's look at the bolder headlines, or rather one of the headlines on our sister publication that states that Tinubu raises 20 billion naira for library project. I mean, this is a good initiative, being that, our reading culture in Nigeria is gradually declining, due to technology, smartphones, and what have you. I mean, I could remember, back in the days where people go to national libraries to read books. Students in schools still visit their school libraries to read books concerning either, during their exams, or they have, something to go through. But these days, we find out that, national libraries are not even functional. Some of these libraries, their books are outdated. The infrastructure is not really, conducive for, people to visit the libraries. So I think this is a very good initiative by the First Lady, Senator Oluremi Tinubu. She did this during her 65th birthday as a fundraising for the completion of the National Library. And she was able to raise 20.4 billion naira. And then also one of the headlines on our sister publication, bandits kill pregnant woman, others in Kwara. Now, Kwara State has been, on the news for a while now with, bandits invading, some communities in Kwara State. The big question is really what is really happening with our insecurity, or rather when it comes to, curbing insecurity in our country. We really hope that, the government of that state and also the federal government will join forces in tackling the bandit attacks and, the random and incessant killing in Kwara State. And then also, as we all know, the unions, and that is the Pangasin and the Nupeng, have rejected the sale of oil and gas assets by the federal government. They say that, this move would, take out, or some of their members will lose their job. There will not be transparency, accountability, and the corruption will be on the high at the end of the day. So they're kicking against it and they're criticizing the move for privatizing these national oil assets. And then also one other headline on our sister publication, soldiers bag life jail for selling arms to terrorists. I mean, you begin to ask if this people that have taken an oath, to pay attention to the insecurity challenges that we have in our countries are the ones contributing, selling arms and ammunition to bandits, to terrorists. You begin to wonder really where is our problem coming from and how can we tackle it. I hope that, this serves as a lesson to other soldiers and, even other, paramilitary officers to know that your job is to, help in the security challenges that we're having in this country and not contribute and add more to our problems. And then we also saw that on our sister publication, policeman, 5 others killed in Lagos Yobe Road crashes. This is to say that, drivers should be careful. All right, our reviewer just joined us this morning in person of Ben Shamang, former director, News Voice of Nigeria. Good morning. It's been a while. We've had you on Daybreak. Thank you for joining us this morning.
Thank you. It's good to have breakfast together.
That's good. All right. So I was just, running through the headlines on our sister publication. So I'll put it to you. The bolder headlines, unions reject sale of oil and gas assets. I mean, since yesterday, the unions are coming out to kick against, this move. What is your take on that?
Yes, when I saw Pengasson and Nupeng vibrating, one is taken aback, kind of. But if truly selling or leasing out these companies will create employment, will increase the gross domestic product, why not? But again, we are worried. When I say we, I mean Nigerians. We've seen a situation where at the point of privatizing NEPA, it was unbundled, broken into various companies. And the sellers happened to be also those in government. It was like an insider kind of a thing. If you say you're going to sell these companies outrightly, who are the buyers? At the point, it's been alleged that there are some people who are very close to those in authority. In other words, these are politically exposed persons. Are they supposed to buy these things? And in the end, they are just determining the lives of Nigerians will just be at their own mercy. But therefore, government should also ensure that thorough things are done and in terms of public policy communication, who have been told about all of this. We ought to have seen a situation where government flies a kind of a kite. We are going to sell these companies. Nigerians, what do you think? You debate all of this just the way they are debating the new constitution that is supposed to come on board. So if you do that, Nigerians will now know that yes, they've been taken along, not a way of a kind of ambushing. You remember the way people viewed the tax policy, where they said there was no proper sensitization for Nigerians to either accept or not accept. So in terms of selling this, probably the unions have seen something that we are not seeing ordinarily.
All right, as echoed on other, newspaper, this other headlines, Remi Tinubu raises 20.4 billion naira for National Library. I mean, it is, a good thing to see that, national libraries would, blossom once again. What is your thoughts on this?
Yes, I think that when you started reading that headline, you were smiling. And I join you to smile, honestly, because a situation where, with due apologies, you can see that Nollywood has taken over what you call the reading culture in Nigeria. Many people read because they have an examination. If I ask you now, although I'm not asking you, let me ask somebody else. When did you buy a textbook last? Just walking around, you bought a textbook. That tells you about reading culture. And when we're talking about libraries, e-libraries and all that stuff, they are big things in democracies all over the world. But in Nigeria, we tend to look at reading. You read because there is an examination. When you finish the examination, you have nothing to do with the books. Then we look at how people are addicted to Nollywood, how people are addicted to short films via the internet and all that stuff. So they are virtually saying bye-bye to a reading culture. If the wife of the president, Senator Oluremi Tinubu, has seen all of that and feels, look, the National Library has been in a limbo, very close to the National Mosque, or what they call the cultural spine of Nigeria. You see that that place has just been there. It's a ghost just like that standing. If she's been passing through and fro and she saw that edifice just standing like a ghost, she just feels she should put life to it. And that was why she said during her birthday, don't go into publishing any wishes in newspapers, which means Daily Trust didn't get that money. She said, channel it into this account. This account, therefore, is going to be for this purpose, to resuscitate the National Library. At the point, fact checkers went into checking to see, is it a scam that people want to siphon money from people? And it was confirmed it was her and her pet project. And I think that it is good, very good. Let me recommend that as soon as the library is done, they should just christen it, name it Senator Oluremi Tinubu National Library. I think that is how to go. Not just going to see a structure that is that is already on. You say this is a Abiola Stadium that has been built by PDP. I think this I recommend.
Excellent. Before we go, let's take a look at this headline. Soldiers bag live jail for selling arms to terrorists. What is your take on that?
Sorry, I didn't get it.
Okay, soldiers bag live jail for selling arms to terrorists.
Yeah, that is when you have a mole in the system. You have a briefing, there is that confidence so reposed on you. You said, look, this armory, you have the key, every bullet, every gun, all under you. But you felt you should just carry these things. And you could see that they were traced to the southeastern part of the country. And you remember, you know what is happening in that area, which means this person is a kind of, these persons are double agents. And that's why the law has to take its course. Military rule will have to be obeyed. This is extra regimented duties they have done. It doesn't fall under regimental lives. The military is run by commands and not by passion. Whatever passion you had, passion for money, passion to go protect some communities illegally. Now you have fallen a prey of that. And that's why the military tribunal had to sit down and they've passed that judgment. I saw that some people are saying, look, it's going to demoralize soldiers who are fighting. You see, these people, when outside duty commands to commit these atrocities, and therefore they have to face the military rule and military role law. So I think that it's an attempt to cipher, remove the bad eggs inside the good ones, so that they don't spoil the good ones in the system. So I think it's a good thing. It's a military rule. It's a military law, and it has been there. It's not today that it's been crafted or created just to take care of them. It's been there, and they all know the consequences.
All right, in 3 minutes, quickly, Mr. Ben, let's take a look at The Guardian. And one headline that struck my attention: concerns in Lagos APC as 4 elected female officials die in 2 months.
Well, the circumstances will have to be investigated thoroughly. The death is surely not on one spot, one single day, assuming that they probably ate something or some poison. But it's coming when there are clamors that women should have special seats at the assemblies, either House of Reps, Senate, and all the states. So yeah, there are concerns, but it's now left for the criminologists and those doing detection and investigations to find out what has gone wrong. Instead of rushing into what you call some conclusions that might be prejudicial to investigations. I think they should look at it. And why is it that it's coming from one state? Why is it that it's coming from one party? Why is it that they are politicians and all that stuff? These are the whys people should be looking at, and the hows. Then who is responsible? Then if there are collaborators, and of course, once the result is out, they should make it public so that people will learn, so that would be those who would want to do such criminalities will know that the law is just there to catch them. So may their souls rest in peace.
Amen. Thank you, Mr. Ben Shamang, former Director News, Voice of Nigeria, for joining us this morning.
Thank you for having me for this breakfast.